If you get limited by the plots that you can do in AG-Grid, what we do recommend is using Plotly, because this gives you maximum flexibility. The only downside is that you can't allow the end user to edit it, to manipulate the chart. The cons is definitely the end user manipulation side that doesn't exist, and I think that it doesn't look as nice when it is AG-Grid, but the pros are that you have full flexibility, so things like Sankey chart and things like that. What it looks like in practice is actually very simple. These are just configuration ones. Basically, here we're returning the mock data. But then what we do is we create the Plotly chart, and then in the end, you'll see that we return it as a JSON. So we convert that figure, which is the Plotly object, onto JSON, and then we return that into JSON. And if you set the parameter to Plotly, which we should be set to type chart, then it works as expected, essentially. Okay. So I want to just show a few things. This is a simple one. This one as a theme. Or what does the theme mean? The theme means that it will recognize if I'm in dark mode or in light mode. This allows developers to have two versions, one for light mode and another for dark mode, and it still renders nicely. And so the trick that we do here is by default, we send a theme parameter. So you don't even need to specify it here. By default, you can expect the front end to sending that theme dark or light based on what is the theme of the user. And so that's something that you just need to add here as a function, and then you can parse it internally. So here you'll see if I look for it, I'm getting the colors from the theme, and that's how it goes into the flow. The next one is with theme and toolbar. So what you can see here is that we have this toolbar on the side. So whereas the other ones don't have it showing by default, this one can be stuck there. So you can now manipulate things. So if I want to zoom in here or something like that, you can control this toolbar. So that's just a simple example of like edit capabilities. This one is the same from a UI perspective, and user perspective doesn't change. The only thing that changes is here in the code, where, as you'll see here, I get everything from this configuration file. Yeah, this like base layout and things like that is all coming from like this configuration file, getting colors. So it makes the code like much cleaner rather than having like all the data coming from here. I should have a Plotly config. So yeah, this is where I have all the colors. This is where I have the base layout. If you are utilizing Plotly a lot, I actually recommend this, because that way you can just have this config file and it will be applied to all the Plotly widgets. So you can have like your main sequence of colors, the main carousel, and things like that. Then what we have is a need map. This, again, just to show that you can do anything on Plotly. The main thing here is that you can actually have a drop down as well on the Plotly and things update. In terms of like how this looks like, is the same as others we've done in the past, so nothing different. Finally, and this one is very important. So I can have something like a Plotly, but let's say the thing with AG-Grid is that we could switch between the visual and the raw data, right? And so we allow you to do that on Plotly too. The only thing you need to do is you need to send this raw true parameter here. And then we expect you to be able to return the underlying data, one that is raw is true. And how does the data get returned? Just as a simple JSON. Yeah, JSON. You can see here is the same as above. The only difference is when I over here, you can see that you can switch between the raw view and the Plotly widget. The principal reason we actually did this is because when you are utilizing AI and you added this into the context, we are sending the JSON from the figure Plotly representation. It may be less accurate than the underlying raw data. Sometimes you spend a lot of time on visuals, but the data actually is not like super complex. With the raw data, we send this table onto Copilot, and then the Copilot can actually use SQL tools or things like that. But from your perspective, you can also then, create charts from here and things like that. So the raw data is actually quite a nice feature.